All right, hi y'all. Welcome to part 2 of the week 7 instructional video. Hopefully you took a little break. You're coming back feeling refreshed. When we left off, we were talking about viewing feedback in Turnitin, which is something that you'll want to do this week in order to prepare for the work that's assigned. So if I go back to, this is the document where you can double check how to do that, what it looks like. Make sure that the blue and the purple icons are selected so that you can see that feedback. I also want to note, because this is something that confuses people every semester because it is confusing. So what I want to note is that there is something that you may see in your feedback that looks a little bit like this. So this purple bubble right here may appear on your screen, but what I want you to know, and it'll be small, so it's a little deceptive, so it'll look about this size, and you can click it and it opens a box that lets you know it's about punctuation. But a lot of times students see this and think, well, I guess I need to add quotation marks, right? Because it has quotation marks. It's so confusing. It's actually a comma. There's a tiny little comma in those quotation marks, and it just means that you likely need to add a comma somewhere in order to have, a complete sentence that is structured well. So don't be confused by that, but remember you can click on those things and they will expand and give you some insights into what is being referenced there. But what I also want you to think about when you're going back and looking at your feedback, the first thing is, I know looking at feedback can be difficult. So many of you in your written responses talked about in your writing history this one experience that was horrible from elementary school because your teacher pulled up your work, read it out loud in front of everybody, and identified all the things that were wrong with it. It was infuriating. I was infuriated. My blood pressure was going up when I was reading about these experiences because that's traumatizing. It's something that will have a lasting impact on how you feel about your writing, and y'all are still carrying some of that with you. Some of you had great experiences. You had a teacher, put your work up and use it as a model, and that's wonderful. I think a majority of us have something that's kind of negative in our background when it comes to our writing history. So when you look at the feedback from me, I really want you to think about it as something that is me providing you with help, not me providing you with judgment. I know that sharing your writing makes us feel very vulnerable. It's like we're giving you a piece of ourselves and saying, here, look at this. And it feels like you're saying, judge me. There's none of that. In our class, I really want us to see if we can move away from the mentality that feedback is judgment. I know we can't undo some of those past experiences and how they have weighed on you as a writer for however many years. But I'd like us to move a little bit more towards that idea that the feedback is something that is meant to be helpful, not hurtful, okay? And I also want you to think about the idea that the grade that you earned is not a reflection of you as a writer. The grade that you earned is a reflection of just that one snapshot, that one instance of your writing, and it's not making you a good or a bad writer. Regardless of the grade, we're working through this, so I want you to also keep that in mind, okay? And I want you to note that the feedback is something where it's helpful because it shows us some of our habits. My goal in the feedback is to connect with your content, so to comment on what you're writing about and sharing, but also to note, hey, this may be something that's a habit of yours when it comes to writing. We all have good writing habits, and we all have habits that could probably benefit from some improvement. So some of us may have issues with commas. Some of us may have issues with run-on sentences or fragment sentences or passive voice. My big problem is passive voice. I use that a lot. Don't worry about it. It just is what it is. And so this is a way for us to really, in reflecting on and looking at that feedback, it's a way for us to, in the future, know that that may be a part of our writing process so that we can correct it, not as we're writing, because we know there's no such thing as a perfect first draft. We shouldn't put that pressure on ourselves. But in the revision process for your next writing assignment, you can think, well, Dr. E pointed out that I have a few run-on sentences. Have I done that here? Okay, so you don't need to edit yourself as you're writing. It's in that revision process where you can go in and kind of adjust for that. So that's really our goal in the reflection this week and looking over that feedback is to kind of notice some of the things that we may tend to do so that we can, put a little bit of attention to that in the future. Okay. And also remember that the feedback is help, not judgment. I can't emphasize that enough. I really can't. And I hope you take that to heart. Okay. All right. So if we go, let me move my snapshot over, my screenshot. If we go back to week 7, I go through all of this information because we do have an assignment, the writing reflection, where you'll want to go back and look at feedback. Okay, so you're actually going to complete a handout, a worksheet that I've put together after looking over the feedback that I've offered. So in order to see your feedback, right, remember you follow the directions, you go to assignments, you're going to click on written response 1. It will be available. It's in my student view. It shows that I didn't submit anything. You will see something here. You'll be able to click on it and you'll go in and view and make sure that you see blue text and you see some purple things potentially. And so you're going to look that over and then complete this worksheet. So if you go back to the writing reflection assignment, this just walks you through some information, and this is the document that you'll complete. Okay, so it's asking you to really think about what you're seeing in the feedback. So when you wrote that first response, what was your writing process, right? So I really want us to think about, what do we do to complete a writing assignment? And it is probably a bit different for, every assignment, right? Depending on length and if we need research and that kind of thing. But think back to this assignment. Did you take time to review and revise your work? Please be honest. It's okay. There's, again, judgment-free zone. If you did not take that time, that's why we're reflecting. Like, would that help in the future, right? I would argue absolutely it will help in the future. And so you just go in and type your information. I'm just going to type stuff, and it will expand as you need it. Okay. So just make sure that you're really thoroughly thinking through the responses, because your grade is going to be based on, of course, complete sentences that are revised and edited, right? That are meeting all the kinds of expectations you would think, for a written assignment. But also, how thoroughly have you gone through the feedback? That is not to say you have a ton of feedback. It's a shorter assignment, so therefore you're probably not going to see the level of feedback you would for a 10-page paper, right? Regardless, you still can gain things from reflecting on that writing and that feedback. So if you just go and make sure you've answered all of these, okay, save it as, and this is something else I want to address here, because I've had a few assignments where people have turned in the template instead of the completed completed worksheet, that kind of thing. So please make sure that you're saving your documents. Name them something that is memorable so that you are absolutely sure that you're uploading the correct document. When you upload a document, you can also double check it. You can click the blue hyperlink that will appear there to double check that. So if you go to written response, oh gosh, hold on. No, I was in the right place, my bad. So if you go to the writing reflection assignment and you click add a file, I'm just going to add something random. Okay, we'll do the complete schedule. Click open, click add, then you can click it and open it if you need to, right? If you need to double check it. So then it will open it. It's going to take a while to open it. It will open so that you can see, yes, that's the right document. Okay, so just something to consider. Don't forget to click submit. Okay, so you'll want to complete that as part of this week's work. Good grief. Okay, and so now we're still in week 7, but let me give you the view that's a bit more familiar. So then we also have a pack-back discussion, and that's going to be based on this week's reading, and the video, right? So I want you to really think about distinguishing facts from misinformation in our chapter, but also Christian Amanpour's TED Talk, and create a question for your colleagues to think about, right? Create a question, maybe include an image or video or something that's helpful. But I do want to note that when it comes to Packback, we want to be utilizing all the features. So if I click on it, okay, so it's going to open, oh, good grief. It's going to open, you'll see the week 7 discussion. And so what I'm going to click is ask a new question. And so this is what you should see. So I'm going to make a statement here. Okay, it lets me know this needs to be a question, right? So make sure you have a question mark or it will prompt you. Here I'm going to okay, so you'll see on the right hand side, let me move my cranium. On the right hand side, you'll see, you know, this is your predicted curiosity score. That's a big part of your grade. So the higher you get on that, the better off your grade will be. But it's also giving you prompts about communication, convention. Are you paying attention to the conventions of academic writing? You're being prompted here for some corrections. But then you can also click here and it's going to walk you through these things. So, oh, some grammatical errors have been found. Do you want to change it or do you want to dismiss it? Okay, so I want to change this. Let me scroll up a little bit. I want to change this. Okay, I want to change this. It's capitalizing it instead of spelling it correctly. Again, so you have to, you know, you have to make sure that you're, and here it's correcting the spelling. So it's still your responsibility to make sure you're doing what you need to do to have an effective response or description of your question there. But your question is really meant to push your colleagues to think about the reading from this week, but the ideas, right? Especially when it comes to thinking about academic writing. A lot of it relies on research and finding useful information that is reliable, not misinformation, right? So it's an important topic for us to consider. Okay. So that is Packback. I'm just going to, again, move my cranium. So make sure you're using all those features that are available. And then, of course, you have the week 7 quiz, which will be this video. The random word is going to be picture. It will be the previous video, and it will be this week's readings and video. So just make sure that you're taking your time, taking a break between watching, reading, doing everything that you need to do in this class. But of course, as always, let me know if you have any questions. Post in that Q&A discussion board area because that's really helpful. All right, good luck this week.